Have you ever stopped to think about what you are putting on your plate? What the foods you consume may be doing to your body, and what they may be doing to it. Throughout human history, food has been one of the main sources of sustenance, pleasure, and, of course, health. However, over time, the way we eat has evolved dramatically. The increase in industrialization and the transformation of natural foods into processed products has changed the way we relate to food. This, in turn, has had direct consequences for our health and well-being. Food is not just fuel for the body. It is much more than that. It is a source of pleasure, social experiences, nutrition, and, critically, health problems, if not chosen wisely. In an age of easy access and constant supply of processed foods, many people are not always aware of the negative impacts that certain foods can have on the body. What you eat today can affect your health not only now, but also in the future, in ways that you may not imagine. Therefore, I invite you to reflect on the foods you consume and how they affect your life, your health, and your future. When we talk about inadequate foods, the conversation goes beyond simple food choices. We are not just talking about a poorly prepared meal or an isolated eating habit. We are talking about an eating pattern that over time can be responsible for a series of chronic diseases and health problems that in many cases can be avoided. And the worst part is that many of these diseases manifest themselves silently, without you realizing the impact that your diet is having on your body. In the long term, the effects of these foods can be devastating for the body, compromising essential functions and even accelerating the aging process. Did you know, for example, that one of the biggest villains in the modern diet is ultra-processed foods? These foods, which are found on most supermarket shelves, are made with artificial ingredients, chemical additives, and preservatives that, over time, harm your health in several ways. Excessive consumption of sugar, sodium, and trans fats, which are present in many of these foods, can trigger a series of diseases such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart problems, and even certain types of cancer. However, at the same time, these foods are extremely convenient, affordable, and easy to prepare. How can we deal with this? How can we find a balance between the pleasure of practical food and the benefits of a healthy diet? The truth is that inadequate nutrition is not a simple problem. It is deeply rooted in modern society, in a culture that prioritizes convenience and speed over health. Therefore, the impact of unhealthy foods goes far beyond the simple act of eating. When you choose a low-quality food, your body has to deal with the consequences of this choice. Often, the effects are not immediate, but in the long term, the damage becomes visible. And the question that remains is, are you willing to pay the price of convenience? Or are you ready to make choices that truly benefit your health? When we reflect on the problems caused by inadequate foods, it is essential to think about the diseases that these eating habits can cause. Excessive consumption of processed foods, rich in sugar and fat, is directly linked to the increase in cases of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and even certain types of cancer. But what about when we think about more subtle aspects, such as changes in the balance of the intestinal microbiota? Did you know that your intestinal health is essential for the overall well-being of your body? When you consume the wrong foods, damaging your intestinal flora, this can affect not only your digestion, but also your immune system, mental health, and emotional state. Since food choices influence our lives in such profound ways, it is essential that we understand the complexity of the impact that an inadequate diet can have. It is not just about simply gaining weight or losing weight. It involves profound changes in the body that affect quality of life, longevity, and even our emotional well-being. What you choose to put on your plate can be directly related to your willingness to work, your energy to exercise, and even your mood. However, when we talk about harmful foods, we need to understand that there are different types of inappropriate foods with different degrees of impact. Some cause immediate damage, while others have slower and more silent effects. The first category includes foods high in sugar, trans fat, and sodium, which, when consumed in excess, can cause diseases such as hypertension, heart disease, and diabetes. The second category involves foods with artificial ingredients and additives that, over time, compromise the body's immune function and hormonal balance. And finally, we have foods that directly affect the digestive system, such as foods rich in gluten and lactose, which, for many people, are triggers for intestinal disorders. The industrialization of food has brought many benefits in terms of convenience, but it has also brought serious health risks. For many people, eating has become an automatic act, without thinking about the consequences of their food choices. After all, it is much easier to grab a bag of chips or a frozen meal than to take the time to cook a healthy meal at home. But this convenience is taking a heavy toll on our health. The rise in obesity, heart disease, and cancer is directly linked to this change in eating habits. But what can we do? How can we break out of this vicious cycle of unhealthy food choices? The answer lies in going back to basics, in rethinking our relationship with food, in paying more attention to what we put on our plates and consequently, what we put into our bodies. But to do this, we need to understand in detail how these processed foods, rich in additives, sugars, and fats, are affecting our health in the long term. When you understand the real impact these foods can have, it is easier to make informed decisions and change your eating habits. In this video, we will take an in-depth look at the most dangerous foods that you should never eat. We will cover each of them based on scientific research, showing how they affect the body and why you should avoid them at all costs. In doing so, I hope you feel more empowered to make dietary decisions that promote your health and well-being. It's time to understand that food isn't just something to satisfy hunger, but something that can transform your life, either for better or for worse, depending on the choices you make. Now stop and think, what are you eating today? How are these foods impacting your health? Did you know that many of the health problems we face, such as diabetes, heart disease, and even digestive problems, can be directly linked to poor nutrition? Are you ready to change your eating habits and take control of your health? The most dangerous foods for your health: soft drinks and sugary drinks. Soft drinks are one of the most consumed foods in the world. They contain large amounts of sugar, artificial sweeteners, and, often, synthetic colors. Scientific research shows that excessive consumption of soft drinks is directly linked to a number of health conditions, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and an increased risk of certain types of cancer. Studies such as the one published in the American Journal of Public Health reveal that daily consumption of soft drinks increases the risk of obesity by up to 60%. Excessive sugar intake is one of the main causes of increased visceral fat, the fat stored around the organs, which is associated with several chronic diseases, such as type 2 diabetes and hypertension. In addition, sugary drinks, such as soft drinks, increase insulin resistance, which worsens glycemic control in the body and favors the onset of diabetes. Another study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that increased soda consumption increases blood uric acid levels, which are linked to gout and high blood pressure. The impact of sugary drinks isn't limited to weight gain. They also have a detrimental effect on metabolism, promoting chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. Processed meats. Processed meats such as bacon, ham, sausages, and bologna are widely consumed in many countries, but they pose serious health risks. The World Health Organization (WHO) has classified processed meats as Group 1 carcinogens, meaning there is substantial evidence that these meats cause cancer in humans. The risk is particularly related to colorectal cancer, due to the nitrates and nitrites used as preservatives in processed meat. Research suggests that processed meats increase the risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. A study published in Circulation, the Journal of the American Heart Association, showed that consumption of processed meat is linked to a significant increase in the risk of cardiovascular disease and early mortality. Consuming 50 g of processed meat per day can increase the risk of heart disease by 42%. In addition to nitrates, processed meats contain high levels of sodium, which contributes to increased blood pressure, a significant risk factor for heart disease. The saturated fats present in these foods also increase LDL cholesterol, bad cholesterol, creating an environment conducive to the formation of plaque in the arteries, which can lead to atherosclerosis and, eventually, heart attack. Hydrogenated oils and trans fats. Trans fats are formed during the hydrogenation process, in which liquid vegetable oils are transformed into solid fats to increase the shelf life of foods. Products such as margarine, industrial cakes, cookies, and fast food often contain these harmful fats. Trans fats are especially harmful to cardiovascular health. Scientific research shows that trans fats increase LDL, the bad, cholesterol and decrease HDL, the good, cholesterol, favoring the formation of plaque in the arteries. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine concluded that the intake of trans fats is associated with a significantly increased risk of heart disease, increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke. In addition, these fats contribute to systemic inflammation, impairing the function of endothelial cells and blood circulation. Trans fats also have a negative impact on insulin resistance, which can trigger or worsen type 2 diabetes. According to the American Diabetes Association, diets high in trans fats increase inflammation and reduce insulin sensitivity, making it harder to control blood sugar. Ultra-processed foods. Foods such as cookies, fast food, and frozen meals are classified as ultra-processed. These foods undergo a long industrialization process, which results in the addition of chemicals, dyes, preservatives, and artificial sweeteners, which can harm your health in the long term. Studies have shown that diets rich in ultra-processed foods are associated with a higher risk of obesity, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. A study conducted by Public Health Nutrition showed that people who consume large amounts of ultra-processed foods are more likely to suffer from chronic diseases, such as hypertension and diabetes. The high amount of sodium and additives present in these foods contributes to increased blood pressure, which can result in heart disease. In addition, the sugars and saturated fats present in many ultra-processed foods can lead to the development of insulin resistance, which contributes to the onset of type 2 diabetes. Frying in reused oil. Frying is one of the most popular cooking methods, but the health risks are high. Frying food in reused oil can lead to the formation of toxic substances, such as acrylamide, which is classified as a possible carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer (IARC). Research shows that acrylamide, formed during the process of frying at high temperatures, is associated with the development of cancer. A study published in Food and Chemical Toxicology showed that the ingestion of acrylamide can increase the risk of breast, ovarian, and liver cancer. In addition, frying in reused oil increases the levels of free radicals in the body, which promotes a state of oxidative stress and accelerates cellular aging. In addition, frying raises bad cholesterol (LDL) and reduces good cholesterol (HDL), which contributes to the formation of plaque in the arteries and increases the risk of heart disease and stroke. Excessive consumption of fried foods is also linked to obesity, one of the main causes of metabolic and cardiovascular diseases. Foods high in high-fructose corn syrup. High-fructose corn syrup is widely used in processed foods such as soft drinks, candy, cereals, and sauces. Studies show that excessive consumption of fructose, especially in the form of corn syrup, can cause serious liver damage and increase the risk of metabolic diseases such as type 2 diabetes. Fructose is metabolized in the liver, where it can be converted to fat, leading to the development of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, hepatic steatosis. According to a study published in the Journal of Hepatology, excessive fructose consumption is directly linked to increased fat accumulation in the liver, which can lead to insulin resistance and an increased risk of diabetes. In addition, consuming large amounts of fructose can increase the production of fatty acids and triglycerides in the blood, which increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. High fructose corn syrup can also trigger inflammatory processes in the body, contributing to insulin resistance and other metabolic diseases. Ultra-processed dairy products. While milk and other dairy products are an important source of calcium and protein, ultra-processed versions, such as processed cheeses and dairy desserts, have many additives that can harm your health. Excessive consumption of these products can increase your risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer, as well as contribute to inflammation in the body. Studies show that ultra-processed dairy products are high in saturated fat and sodium, which can raise LDL cholesterol levels and increase blood pressure. Excessive consumption of saturated fats has also been linked to an increased risk of heart disease and stroke. White breads and pastas. White breads and pastas, made with refined flours, have a high glycemic index and are quickly digested, which causes blood sugar spikes. This puts a strain on the pancreas and can lead to insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Studies indicate that diets high in refined carbohydrates are directly associated with an increased risk of diabetes and obesity. According to the American Diabetes Association, refined carbohydrate intake increases the risk of metabolic diseases, such as type 2 diabetes. In addition, excessive consumption of white breads and pastas can contribute to increased visceral fat, which increases the risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer. Processed sweets and confectionery. Processed sweets, such as candies, chocolates, and packaged cakes, are rich in sugar and bad fats. Excessive consumption of these products is associated with an increased risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Sugar, especially in its refined form, is directly linked to increased levels of triglycerides in the blood, which favors the formation of plaque in the arteries and increases the risk of heart disease. In addition, excessive sugar consumption can also impair immune function, making the body more susceptible to infections. Processed soups and sauces. Ready-made soups and sauces are high in sodium, preservatives, and monosodium glutamate, MSG, which can cause a number of health problems. Excessive sodium consumption is directly linked to high blood pressure, a risk factor for heart disease and stroke. Studies show that high-sodium diets increase fluid retention in the body, which overloads the cardiovascular system and raises blood pressure. In addition, monosodium glutamate, MSG, is a neural stimulant that can trigger headaches, allergic reactions, and even behavioral disorders. Foods with preservatives and artificial colors. Preservatives such as sodium benzoate and artificial colors, such as tartrazine, are found in many processed foods. Studies show that these additives can cause allergic reactions and are associated with behavioral disorders, such as hyperactivity, especially in children. In addition, these compounds can have long-term toxic effects. The use of artificial colors and preservatives has also been linked to an increased risk of cancer, with studies suggesting that regular intake of these compounds may increase the risk of liver and kidney cancer. Foods packaged in toxic plastics. Plastics, especially those containing bisphenol A (BPA), can release toxic chemicals that disrupt the endocrine system. BPA is an endocrine disruptor, interfering with the body's hormones and altering thyroid function, which can lead to infertility and an increased risk of cancer. Research shows that exposure to BPA can affect metabolism, interfering with reproductive hormones and weight control. Additionally, studies suggest that BPA may be associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. Now that we've gone through a detailed journey into the dangers of unhealthy foods and how these items can compromise your health, it's time to reflect on what we've learned. In each part of this text, we've seen how reckless eating can profoundly affect the functioning of the human body, from obesity and heart disease to more subtle issues like digestive problems, hormonal imbalances, and even emotional disorders. But more important than knowing these risks is taking a conscious attitude towards the food choices we make in our daily lives. Do you remember how we started this conversation? By asking if you've ever stopped to think about what you're putting on your plate? What you eat may seem like something simple or even trivial, but in fact, food choices have a lasting impact on the quality of your health. What you eat today can define the future of your body, your energy, your mental health, and your overall well-being. And although many diseases caused by unhealthy eating develop slowly, Over time, they can become irreversible, causing immense suffering. This is one of the crucial points we have addressed throughout the text: the invisible damage caused by an inadequate diet. Sometimes we do not see the immediate effects, which is why many people continue to consume processed foods, rich in sugars, trans fats, and sodium. The immediate perception of satisfaction and pleasure when consuming these foods can mask what is happening internally. However, when these foods are consumed in excess, they not only increase the risk of diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, cancer, among others, but also harm the internal balance of the body in more subtle ways. Have you ever stopped to think about how much your diet can affect your intestinal microbiota? The imbalance between the good and bad bacteria in your intestine, for example, can directly affect your digestion, your immune system, and even your emotional state. Processed foods, rich in refined sugar and fats, are directly related to an imbalance in the intestinal flora, which can harm the functioning of the digestive system and affect your mental health, creating a vicious cycle of more consumption of inadequate foods. This is the kind of silent problem that many people don't even realize, but that has a direct impact on their quality of life. In addition, we discussed how ultra-processed foods can have effects that go beyond the physical, affecting your mental health. The connection between a diet rich in processed foods and the development of conditions such as depression, anxiety, and stress is something that has been widely investigated by scientists around the world. Recent studies suggest that diets poor in nutrients and rich in processed products can affect brain chemistry and, consequently, mood and behavior. This means that diet is not only a factor that affects the physical body, but also our mind and emotions. The big question here is, why do we continue to consume these foods knowing the risks they pose? The answer lies in a combination of social, cultural, and convenience factors. Fast and processed food is often the most accessible and practical option for those who live a fast-paced life, with little time to worry about preparing healthy meals. Marketing also plays an important role in this scenario, promoting products full of artificial ingredients and substances that stimulate immediate pleasure, but offer little or no real nutritional benefits. So, what can you do about this reality? The first step is to become aware of the harmful effects that unhealthy foods have on your body. Once you understand how these foods impact your health in a broad and profound way, it becomes easier to make more informed and healthy decisions. Knowledge is power, and it is the first step to transforming your eating habits and your health. Now, imagine for a moment your life in the near future, free from the consequences of an unhealthy diet. Imagine what it would be like to feel more energized, with your digestive system functioning optimally, with more energy for work and daily activities, and with the feeling of emotional well-being that comes from a diet rich in nutrients. Have you ever thought that your diet can be a powerful tool for improving your quality of life and even increasing your longevity? This is the vision we would like you to take away with you after reading this. In practice, how can we make this change? First, it is important to choose fresh, natural, and whenever possible, organic foods. By reducing your consumption of processed and ultra-processed foods, you begin to give your body the opportunity to heal, regenerate, and function more efficiently. It's not about eliminating all processed foods at once, but rather gradually reducing their presence in your diet, replacing them with more nutritious options. Another important point is the preparation of your meals. By cooking your own meals, you have full control over the ingredients you are using and can avoid the additives, preservatives, and artificial ingredients that many ready-made foods contain. Home cooking is a great ally when it comes to health. In addition, a greater consumption of foods rich in fiber, such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, can significantly improve intestinal health and reduce the risk of several diseases. Another fundamental practice for improving health is controlling sugar consumption. The consumption of large amounts of refined sugar is directly linked to the increase in chronic diseases, such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even some types of cancer. Although sugar is an addictive substance, it is possible to re-educate your taste buds and make healthier choices by opting for natural alternatives such as honey, stevia, or even fresh fruit to sweeten your meals. However, while awareness of the risks of an inadequate diet is crucial, it is important to remember that changing eating habits takes time and patience. It is not about making a radical change overnight, but rather adopting a healthier lifestyle gradually, respecting your pace and tastes. The key to success is consistency and persistence. Therefore, the invitation we leave you now is simple but powerful. Take control of your diet. Reflect on the impact that your food choices have on your health and your future. Each meal is an opportunity to take care of your body and mind. By making more conscious and healthy eating decisions, you are not only preventing diseases, but also investing in a fuller and higher quality life. Now more than ever, you have the power to transform your health through food. Remember that every choice you make makes a difference, and that by making these choices, you are investing in your longevity and well-being. This is not a sacrifice, but a gift you give yourself. Finally, we invite you to reflect on one last question. Are you ready to change? Are you willing to invest in your future and give your body the fuel it truly deserves? Change starts now, and you have the ability to transform your life, one plate at a time. The path to a healthier life is within your reach, and the only thing you need to do is take the first step. Think about it and have excellent health until a new video.